So, Mr. Demi, tell us. You haven't been wrong so far. You have got a great track record. What is going to happen in the next 7 hours to 7 days on Bitcoin? Are we going to break the all-time high? Is it going to come back up? Is it going to crash back down to 30 grand? What's going to happen in your professional opinion?
Sure. So the first thing is like that I want to kind of point out here is we are below the all-time high. Okay, which is there. But we have, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but we have closed above the previous highest close on the weekly time frame. So if you can see here, this is the highest closing weekly time frame that we've had up to now. So that in itself is quite interesting. That could be regarded as bullish. But one thing that we haven't quite got yet is we haven't really got the volume yet to back it. So you can kind of see here, this week's bar, the volume has been quite low. So what I'd normally do in this situation is I'd go and have a look at the daily chart and just kind of break down what the volume has been like on the more significant days. So what I mean by that is the big bullish days and the big bearish days. So we haven't really got big bearish days. That was kind of a nothing bar. So when we said big bearish, we're talking about bars like this. So bigger than average and red, and then bigger than average and green. And so recently there's no red there. So you can see over here when we were quite bearish, you can see that we had a big aggressive bar down with a big increase in volume. And that was bearish and the market went down. This bar here is not really a big bearish bar. So I would discard that. So that's the only bearish volume that's come in. In terms of big above average right now, we have this bar here, which is a big bullish bar. So that was an increase in volume there. And then this bar here, and that was a nice increase in volume there. So the big bar up has done it on strong volume. So as it stands right now, I've got to say this is very, very bullish. But it's one of those things where, you know, the all-time high is the all-time high, and there's always going to be resistance. There's going to be people that bought here, and they're going to want to get out and get their money back. That's just the way it is. Even if you tell people it's irrational to do that, you know, you sat through all this drawdown, why would you want to just get your money out now? But that's just kind of how people are. So it could create some sellers coming into the market. As a standalone right now, it looks bullish. It looks like it's going to go higher. The way that I would kind of change my stance on that would be the following. So right now, as it stands, I think we break the highs and we go higher. And we'll do some breakdown of the fibs to see how that might happen in just a second. But I want to give you something that's going to be helpful to you, and hopefully you're going to remember this to help you look at the other side as well. So whether it's on a daily or whether it's on a weekly, you can do either. But what I would say to you is this path of going higher changes if we get a red bar like this that is above average, close below this green line, okay, and the volume goes up. So the volume goes basically higher than this average here. That's when you kind of want to get out of your position, because the most likelihood is that you've been faked out and the institutions want to push this lower before pushing it higher. But as it stands right now, I'm going to repeat it. As it stands and what I'm seeing, this market looks like it's going to have some real strength to go and push and really test breaking those highs. We had a weekly bar close above that resistance point. That's bullish. We've had a good average, above average volume bar there. Nice consolidation as well. So if you kind of look at the price action, it looks really, really nice here. And it just looks like it's going to have that push higher. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm seeing. And I'll just repeat it, an above average red bar with an increase in volume above the average, that's kind of when you want to get out. So something, you know, similar to this, I guess, where you saw here, bit above average red bar here, and then the market went much lower. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and break down where this next target is going to be for Bitcoin, and you know where we've pulled back and so on. So we'll do our fibs. We'll see our A, B, C, D. Let's make sure that's correct. Yeah. So A, B, C, D. And I'm going to do two different options for a reason I'll explain in just a sec. So that's one scenario. So this could be your D. So A, B, C, pull back into the yellow. And did we create? No, we haven't. We are due, but have not actually. I think we have created a D up there. Let me just double check that, mate. 1 sec. So is this a high point? Where 1, 2, yes. So that is officially a high point. So that basically means we now have a new A, B. And this means that the market could push up higher and find resistance around here, because I really like that double confluence level. That if this market goes, if you are long from here, I really like the 73,000 target. That for me is a really nice area to be looking to take some profits if you are trading this especially. So if you're trading it, you want to kind of be long as long as we're above this big green bar. So you could even be placing your stop behind that green bar and then looking to target 73,000. At that point, according to the fibs, we may get a pullback. Okay, we may get a pullback, something along those lines, maybe back towards this old resistance before then moving higher towards this D and then beyond. So that's kind of the likelihood is that that's probably what will happen. I think we'll push up and we'll go and hit 73K, and then we'll probably get some resistance. Whether this comes back this deep, it really depends on how much FOMO is in the market. The thing with cryptos and Bitcoin is that there's a lot of inexperienced traders. There's a lot of traders using leverage. There's a lot of volatility, and it creates some, you know, parabolic, unpredictable moves. So anything is possible, but this is kind of what I'm seeing right now. Does that make sense, everybody? Does that make sense to you, Gavin?
Yeah, I mean, I think the news would have a field day if it went up to 73 and then back down to 55. That's like that's almost a 25% drop, isn't it? So there would have to be something sizable to happen in the market for it to come to that. But it makes sense from a technical point of view, especially like what you've just found there, that we are actually in a start of another cycle.
Yeah. I mean, if you kind of, one of the ways that, this is more like Elliott waves, but one of the ways that you could look at another possibility is if you take the 100% prior move and then use that as a projection. Some people will use that as a short-term target. And now what's interesting about that is that it's roughly at the all-time high. So that, and it's also like, if you see that confluence there, that comes in about 64.6. And that's roughly where, where we've been before, right? So that's an interesting level as well. I think that is something you should definitely keep an eye on. So if you kind of put that horizontal line there, you can see, so you could, the other kind of scenario is that you test those all-time highs, sellers in the market come in, and then we push back towards here. So we do it that way, and either go up from here or go to the 618. So just really, really scare people out. Say, oh my word, like the thing they say, like, buy the rumor, sell the fact. I don't know if people know that saying. It's quite a common saying. Buy the rumor, sell the fact. Well, the rumor was the ETF. The fact is it's here. So that could have that kind of effect. And so you might end up kind of just really, really, if you imagine there's people that are buying here, and then imagine if this actually happened, and you're like, oh my word, I'm losing all this money. It can create fear, and then, and then the market could do that. So that's another sort of potential scenario. I just think that these are the kind of key levels that you need to be watching. And if you're going to be long, you've got to be, in my opinion, protected behind this big volume bar, because if that gets taken out, we're heading lower. How lower at this stage, we don't know, but I think if that gets taken out, I think we will definitely have a proper retracement, and that's where you could start to look for value areas to buy this. So yeah. I know that's kind of mixed. I've given you both scenarios, but like in trading, it's like that. You have to react to what you see. So just kind of repeating what I said at the beginning, as it stands, with everything as I see it, with volume confirming the breakout, it looks like there's momentum to the upside. It looks like there's more room to the upside. It looks like we can go and test this all-time high, and it looks like we could also break that all-time high and potentially go there. But then on the flip side, if we break back below here on higher volume, that changes that plan. And so all of a sudden you're like, well, there's no point holding that now and seeing a drop down to here. I'll close that trade and I'll buy it back down here or here, whatever.